Imagine this, a man with no name, no Instagram, no clue what exfoliation is. Might have had a better skincare routine than the average person today. He's crouched by the fire, not out of laziness, but focus. Because in his hands, he's crafting armor. Not for battle, for survival. Let's call him Oren. He's 5'10", built like a tree stump. His chest is broad, from hauling carcasses through forest mud. His forearms are covered in scratches, the kind that don't heal pretty. His hair is tied back with a strip of dried sinew, not for fashion to keep blood and sweat out of his eyes while he hunts. His skin is like cracked leather, darkened from years of sun and soot. Every scar tells a story. Some about animals, some about other humans. He doesn't speak much. He doesn't need to. His actions are a language all their own. Right now, he's mixing something. Cooled ash from last night's fire, and fat scraped from the inside of a deer carcass. He swirls it with one finger, slow, precise. No flinching at the texture, no hesitation. Because he knows exactly what he's doing. He smears it on forehead first. Then cheeks, neck, chest, even the backs of his hands. It looks grimy, primitive, but it's the opposite. What he's doing is creating a chemical shield. The ash is alkaline. That means bacteria can't survive it. The fat? It locks in moisture. It's a layer of hydration and UV protection, made from a deer. It's survival, disguised as dirt. Yet we still imagine people like Oren as filthy, clueless brutes. Why? Probably because of movies. Hollywood taught us that cavemen were brainless, yelling creatures wrapped in moldy rugs. But the science tells a different story. Archaeologists have found fingerprints made entirely from ochre and soot. They found small shells used as containers, with traces of herbal oils and colored powders. These weren't accidents. These were formulas. Recipes passed on without writing. Memorized through repetition, taught through survival. Oren didn't have a lab. His lab was the forest. His ingredients? Bone, clay, fire, fat. No textbooks, no measurements. But every mix he made worked. He knew which ashes healed wounds, which clays cooled burns, which animal fats lasted longer on skin under the sun. And that knowledge wasn't luck. It was tested again and again. A science passed down not with words, but with hands. Today we call it natural skincare. Back then, it was just called living. And this is only the start. Don't be fooled by how simple it looks. That thick, greasy layer Oren smears on his skin, it's not just fat. It's a full-spectrum biological defense system. A triple threat against the wilderness. First, moisture. In bone-cracking winters where wind slices skin open like paper, this layer seals in hydration. It keeps the flesh supple, stops cracks from forming. Because one open wound could mean death. Second, sun protection. In the searing African heat, this fat becomes a physical barrier. A primitive sunscreen so effective, it could outlast half the stuff in your modern skincare bag. And third, insects. Mosquitoes, flies, leeches, all bounced off that slick, waxy surface like water on stone. Some animal fats even carried natural aromas, enough to repel bugs entirely. Who needs DEET? When a mammoth can give you perfume? And the kicker? That same skin layer was edible. Try eating your sunscreen and let me know how it goes. But back then, every tool had to do double duty. Food, shield, medicine, all in one. They didn't have glossy beauty stores. No brands, no serums, no glowing influencer routines. What they had was an entire ecosystem in the palm of their hand, and they knew how to squeeze out every ounce of nourishment. Not just for their bodies, but for their survival. To you, smearing fat on your face might seem crude, but when a single cracked blister could turn into a deadly infection, crude starts looking a lot like genius. Colorless, scentless, unbranded, yet profoundly effective. That's not a sign of being behind the times. That's evolution at full speed. Turns out, our ancestors had better teeth than most people today. No dentists, no floss, no LED whitening kits. So how? It starts with a stick, a small branch. Oren chews one end until it splinters into tiny bristles. Boom! Natural toothbrush. Zero cost, zero waste. These fibrous tips didn't just scrub away food and plaque. They released oils from the plant's core, natural antiseptics. Pine, willow, oak. Each tree with its own secret formula. And paste? Forget it. They made their own. Fine ash, alkaline, cleansing. Crushed seashells, mineral-rich, lightly abrasive. Sand just enough grit to clean, but not enough to strip enamel. Fresh breath? No peppermint gum. They chewed hardened tree resins. Pine sap. Frankincense. Sticky, antiseptic, aromatic. The original chewing gum, approved by nature. There were no clinics, no mouthwash commercials, just generations of trial, error, and sharp observation. Oren didn't have dental insurance, but he did have a full set of working teeth. And in a world where chewing raw meat was daily business, that mattered. Because once you lost your teeth, you lost your ability to chew. No chewing meant no calories. No calories meant a slow, brutal death. So, maybe it's us, with our plastic-wrapped toothpaste and sugary snacks, who've forgotten what real dental care looks like. You probably think early humans just did their business wherever they stood. Spoiler, they didn't. Because even 50,000 years ago, they understood something we still forget today. Waste is dangerous. Oren wouldn't go behind the nearest rock. He'd walk, far from camp, dig a small hole, handle his business, then cover it with dirt. Not out of manners, but out of pure survival instinct. Human waste attracts predators. Bears, wolves, scavengers. It spreads disease. It poisons nearby water. So they invented something modern campers still use. The cat hole method. And toilet paper? Nature provided. Sphagnum moss, soft, absorbent, naturally antiseptic. Broad leaves. Even smooth seashells reusable. Biodegradable. Not exactly Charmin, but it got the job done. There were no sewage plants. No eco-labels, because their entire existence was eco-conscious. Not by marketing, by necessity. They didn't think of cleanliness as luxury. They saw it for what it truly is. Survival. It wasn't about being clean for the sake of feeling fresh. Hygiene was strategy. Survival. Because one careless body could threaten the entire tribe. Oran knew that. So did everyone else around him. When one person got sick, It spread fast. Through breath, through cuts, through food. So their cleanliness wasn't personal. It was communal defense. Today, we dump billions of tons of sanitary waste into the oceans. Plastic, wipes, tubes, bottles, all branded eco-friendly. But back then, Oran and his people practiced real zero waste. No slogans, no buzzwords, just logic and survival. They used leaves, stones, natural absorbents that broke down into the earth. No trace left behind. So yeah, don't be surprised if one day it's a prehistoric tribe that teaches you how to actually use the bathroom right. In our modern world, we invented something called trash. If it's dirty, used, cracked, it gets tossed. But to Oran, waste didn't exist. Everything served a purpose, even the things you'd never want to touch. Animal dung? That was fuel. Dried out in the sun, it burned slow and clean. Perfect for cooking meat, heating shelters, or warming a newborn on a freezing night. Even human waste wasn't thrown aside. Not out of desperation, out of ingenuity. That pile of excrement was stored energy, ready to boil water, roast tubers, or smoke fish. Urine, too, had its role. Anthropologists believe early humans marked territory with it, not unlike wolves. A boundary, invisible but understood. This place is taken. And it didn't stop at waste. Every item was repurposed. A curved branch? Fire starter. A shiny rock? Good luck, charm, or tool. A broken shell? Spoon, scraper, or even jewelry. They didn't call it recycling. They just didn't waste. No bins, no landfill. Only the quiet logic that nothing in nature comes without purpose. And now, in our towering cities of steel and garbage, we burn through plastic-like air. We throw out perfectly good food. We toss, dump, ignore. Maybe it's not them who were primitive. Maybe it's us. They didn't leave behind towering monuments, but they did leave behind a message. Nature makes nothing in excess. Only humans do. You think prehistoric life was all hunting, fire starting, and grunting? Then you've forgotten half the story. Because behind Oran, there was someone just as skilled. Someone rarely mentioned in cave art or textbooks. Let's call her Neha. And she was a genius. She didn't have a gynecologist. No sanitary pads. No warm water. But she handled childbirth, periods, and childcare with a kind of knowledge modern medicine still studies. During menstruation, she used dried moss and soft grasses, wrapped gently in animal skin softened by hand. The result? A reusable pad. Absorbent, clean, and gentle. No waste. No plastic. No shame. When a baby was born, she didn't scrub its skin with freezing water. She dusted warm, fine ash across sensitive areas. A natural, antibacterial baby powder. Then, with careful hands, she crushed nuts, almonds, walnuts, anything rich in oil, and turned them into a silky body paste. Baby lotion, made from scratch. There were no parenting books, no online mom forums, just intuition, deep care, and sharp observation. Neha didn't carry a spear. She carried knowledge. She was the tribe's healer, the one who preserved the next generation, the quiet scientist, the first innovator of sustainable care. 100,000 years ago, in a cave on the edge of the sea. Someone was mixing something strange. No mirror, no camera, no spotlight, just a hollow shell, firelight, and focus. It wasn't food. It was a message. A cosmetic, not for beauty, but for identity. Lombo's Cave. A dark, wind-bitten shelter carved into the South African cliffs. And inside it, a surprise no one expected. Archaeologists uncovered the world's oldest known makeup studio. Not mirrors and neon lights, but abalone shells, used as mixing bowls. Inside, red ochre, charcoal, crushed bone, and animal fat. But this wasn't vanity. It wasn't a date night routine. This was war paint, ritual armor, a coded language etched into flesh. They didn't draw lines on their face to look pretty. They did it to say, I belong here. I survived. I am part of something sacred. Each streak of ochre told a story. Coming of age, a new birth, a mourning. And in a world of sand and heat and biting wind, that red dust also protected. From sun, from bugs, from brutal weather. This wasn't about looking soft. It made them stronger. It didn't glamorize. It fortified. So when they painted their skin, it wasn't for attention. It was identity, community, survival. A face was not just a face. It was a message. You draw a line for style. They drew it to remember. To speak without speaking. And maybe, just maybe, this was the first true form of art. We love to brag about our tech. Phones that fold, fridges that talk, creams that reverse aging. 3 times more effective, they say. But what if we're looking at the wrong scoreboard? Because when we look back at people like Oron and Neha, something uncomfortable starts to creep in. They didn't build towers. They didn't upload selfies. But they didn't throw plastic into oceans either. They didn't need wet wipes because they used moss. And when they were done, it returned to the soil. They took from nature, but only what nature could give back. And us? We tear through forests to make fast food packaging, drain rivers to keep our lawns green, all in the name of convenience. So, who's actually civilized? If being advanced means knowing when enough is enough, if it means living without destruction, if it means leaving space for life after us, then maybe Oron's tribe was far ahead of ours. No universities, but they listened to earth, fire, water, and wind. No social media, but they understood what community really meant. Surviving together, not flexing alone. They didn't just last. They lasted without leaving damage behind. No monuments, no metal, but a message carved deep into the soil. If you want to live long, don't fight nature. Live with it. And one day, when our descendants dig through what we left behind, plastic, pollution, and broken machines, who will they call civilized? Us or them? Today, we spend fortunes trying to fix what we've broken. We pour money into anti-aging, deodorants, fancy soaps, and even more into cleaning up the consequences. Pollution, disease, climate collapse. We think we've advanced, but maybe we've just gotten louder, because those so-called primitives, they didn't just survive. They lived clean, consciously, connected. They had no apps, but they had wisdom rooted in the earth. No serums, but they had natural care. No greenwashing labels, they simply lived green. So if you believe the past isn't some dusty page to skip, but a survival manual we've forgotten how to read, then stay with us. Hit subscribe. Tap the bell. Because the most important lessons for our future may be buried in the ashes of our past.